We are about to experience and enjoy one of the oldest and most mysterious of the performing arts, the circus. And Captain Zachariah's Itinerant Bizzarium is the oldest of the oldest and mysterious of the mysterious. Now, I met up with the troupe only a couple of weeks ago. We've sat around the campfire and I've heard all their stories. They've told me their stories, I've written them down, and that's what I'd like to share with you today, a few of their stories. And I'd like to whet your imagination with tales of beauty, of strength, of magic, endurance, thrill and mystery. And we're going to begin with the tale of Ava Loomer. Now Ava, hello Ava, was the daughter of the local village gooseguard. And Ava's childhood was spent upon a famed route of pilgrimage. And there she spent her infant years as happily as any toddler, prancing and paddling in the sparkling streams, joyfully jumping after butterflies and bumblebees, chattering cheerily to passing pilgrims. But as her wings began to bud, then sprout, eyebrows were raised by local gossips, questions asked over carafes of wine, and eventually there was talk of summoning the Inquisition. To protect her beloved child, Ava's mother tearfully entrusted her to the care of a passing nobleman, whose large retinue, fine words and even finer jewels, entranced the poor. Unfortunately, Ava's guardian proved naught but a decadent roue, who shut her away in a charmless, comfortless cage, until her wings and her other feminine charms began to sprout. And then the Marquis was only too happy to see more of his ward, summoning her to perform for his assembled dinner guests, clad scantily but for the jewels. I mean, after all, none must be allowed to think her glorious wings were a mere costuming device. No, they must see quite clearly that her wings sprang naturally from her alabaster flesh, a genuine anatomical wonder. Eventually escaping, smuggled out in the laundry by a besotted valet, Ava hid by day and flew by night. She flew northwards, ever northwards, far away from the Marquis's castle. At night, she found a barn occasionally to rest herself, but mostly it was in the treetops that Ava rested. Growing hungry, she eventually found her way to a town full of traders and tailors, preachers and porters, urchins and usuries. She realized that she could go no further, and that such a city, filled with travellers from all points of the compass, all intent upon their own business, was a perfect place for a freak such as herself to hide. I mean, one more oddity amongst all the monkeys and mermaids, wombats and werewolves that were already kept as curiosities by the wealthy merchants would not be noticed. But for her feathers to glisten and gleam and her bosom to heave, Ava needed to regain her strength. She needed shelter and money for both food and new clothes to replace the now tattered cloak in which she had fled. 2 long days passed as she walked the cobbled streets, taunted by the aroma of roasting coffee and spices, peering into windows piled high with tempting treats, yet not having a single coin for even the wandering pieman's wares. Reluctantly, indeed with tears threatening to spill, Ava admitted to herself that there was but one choice remaining: the lessons which the Marquis and his guests have forced upon her, and they must now be the source of her salvation. her only hope of survival, although her heart may break. And upon the oh so public steps of the town, and the city's most notorious bordello, a house famed for catering to the most unusual of tastes, she found herself facing the formidable Madam. Now, even here there was little call for a half-starved waif, unless... was she not utterly unique? Had men not bayed for her particular peculiarities? Did she have a courtesan's courage? Ava prepared to reveal herself when a cape of scarlet silk was thrown about her shoulders. Snatched from the brink of depravity, she was led to a warm campfire, and where a beautiful, bearded lady, thank you, Madam Allegia, offered her a seemingly boundless and endless plate of food. Ava sat amongst her new friends at the campfire, and with her newfound hero, Captain Zachariah, for it was indeed his itinerant Bizzarium that had rescued her. She sat with her saviour, a ringmaster, to whom she is as devoted as any nun to her pantheon of saints. Thank you, Ava. That was the story of Ava Luma. Thank you very much, Ava, for sharing that. It's actually a story of great revenge and searching, and it's the story of Mr. Livingston Fitzroy. And a certain person you're going to meet a bit later on. It's quite important to the story, aren't you? There you are, Livingston. Now, when Livingston came upon Captain Zach and his troop, he was without his knowing in need of them, and whilst it is true he had always been fiercely independent, since his orphaning a year ago in his 25th year, a family and a place of belonging is what he had been unsuspectingly searching for. And amongst his father's belongings, he had discovered a journal telling such a tangled tale, a tale of unexpected love, a forbidden tryst, of a jealous queen, full of vengeance. Therefore, this was also a tale of violence and irrevocable exile. Now, within the time-worn pages of his father's journal, Livingston Fitzroy learned that far from being a mere groom in the stables of an English lord, he should by rights be wearing a crown. And as was his wont when sleepless, his father's journal actually playing on his mind, Livingston had taken a midnight stroll around his lordship's menagerie. Now, in sitting on his usual bench next to the cage of the king of the beasts, here named Macamu, this night was different. This night, he had the heartfelt knowledge of his own stolen heritage, the theft of his kingdom. So he could not fail but recognize in Macamu a fellow sufferer of injustice. But on the surface at least, and so it would appear to those outside, looking in, unaware of the unfortunate circumstances served upon him, Livingston still had his freedom. The same could not be said for the imprisoned Macamu. So Livingston realized, despite his current lamentations, the freedom to attempt a righting of the wrong was his, but not only for himself, also for his leonine brother. Now, I won't here expand, however, padlocks were not long proof against Livingstone, and the pair of new runaways faded into the midnight shadows. And following sundry, sometimes unsavoury adventures, well, a lion has to eat, a boy must have his treats, they found themselves aboard ship. Alas, they also found a helmsman who was a little too fond of the rum. And confusing port and starboard, the ship hit a particularly large specimen of flotsam, and the two new adventurers were cleaving to the one lifeboat that had managed to be launched. And they watched on in horrid fascination as all other souls followed the ship's fast descent into the fatal deeps. And for a full week they drifted amid visions of mermaids, of sea dragons, all manner of mystical creatures, a giant octopus, and Livingstone actually swears he had a close encounter with a kraken, but he had also managed to rescue a bottle of rum, so take that as you will. They awoke when their boat made land. Yes, thank you, Mr. Kraken. Yes, I see you. An unusually large and propitiously timed wave deposited them unceremoniously upon the shore of a small island, seemingly deserted, but the island provided an exotic abundance of fruits. However, after a brief reconnaissance, they lit upon a dilapidated jetty, to which was moored a small sailboat, and a few paces back into the trees, an equally tumble-down shack. Now, this being the first shelter on dry land they had had in many a moon, Livingstone gratefully fell upon the neglected bed, surrendering to the embrace of sleep. But, oh, what dreams! A cavalcade of marvels. There were sprites and spirits, impossible ethereal creatures. Livingstone was lured onwards by these fantastical dream world creatures. Deep into the island's heart he was lured, and there the spirits faded, leaving our intrepid explorer alone beneath a lightning-blasted tree. He turned in confusion, searching for the disappeared sprites, and there arose a shining figure, a vision of such otherworldly beauty that upon waking, he felt the loss deep within his soul, so deep that this felt more significant than a mere dream. So, driven by his need to make sense of what he had seen, he spent his days scouring the island. Macomo, however, not having dreamt the dream, was content to laze in the shade, drink, eat, and most importantly, nap. Because his size, although huge, he was after all still a cat. Now, on the edge of despair, Livingstone entered one last glade and espied the self-same tree, a glimmer of silver damask between its roots. Oblivious of his tearing fingernails, he clawed at the earth, revealing not the living beauty of his vision, but rather an extravagantly bejeweled but decidedly deceased skeleton. Embroidered upon her bodice in a thread of purest gold, Livingstone saw the same family crest that adorned his father's journal. And he took his journal from his pocket, and out fell a picture of his great aunt Augustine. Now, she had disappeared, legend has it, en route to raise a rebel army to reclaim her family's rightful crown. And her jewels and gold that was strewn about her through Livingstone could now achieve Aunt Augustine's dreams. With Macomo's help, the abandoned sailing ship was laded, and once again they took to the waves. Livingstone determined to succeed where his ancestors had been thwarted. In need of provisions, they went ashore at the first port they happened upon, and walking along the cobbles, Livingstone and Macomo set off for town, their eyes drawn towards a travelling troupe that happened to be in the neighbourhood, and specifically a beautiful woman who beckoned him over. This was our very own Madame Alathé. Give me your hand. You have questions. I will give your answers. Your hand, Livingston. Thank you. She spent some time gazing, learning, and then looking deep into his eyes. She said, "You will succeed. All that your family had taken from you will be returned. But you will need patience. If you attempt to recover your rightful position at this time, you will fail. Justice will be done. You have lessons to learn. Come with us, and I will teach you." Oh, Mackimo is vital. And that is how Livingston and Mackimo ended up with the itinerant Bizzarium. Thank you, Madame Alathé. Livingston, allow me. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was the story of Livingston. I don't know who we should move on to now, Zach. I mean, oh no, hang on. Are you sure? Do we have a watershed? You might want to cover your eyes at some point during this. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure, and I do mean great. Please allow me to introduce Daskazine. Hello, Daskazine. Not that Daskazine was actually always her name. She was once an aspiring singer from the wilds of Wyoming, until there was a small incident with a saxophone player, a midget, and a pearl-handled pistol. But nothing was actually proven. So let's just admire Daskazine. And I will move this for you, Daskazine. Such beauty. No, I was just saying how beautiful you were, Daskazine. Should we start? Can I assist? Thank you. I love this part. Yes, you. Actually, Daskazine can no longer look upon the staves of her music without seeing the blood stains that she... Yeah, well, I won't. Oh, sorry, Zach. You want to get up closer? Okay. There you go, Zach. Oh! Yes, I bet you're glad you came up now. I'll put these down here. Daskazine. Shall I move this for you? Works of art upon a work of art. Daskazine was very happy in the Bizzarium. You see, she had found a way to leave everything behind and to satisfy her need to keep moving. To escape by hiding in plain sight. Although, actually, Daskazine, it's not really that plain, is it? Ladies and gentlemen, Daskazine. Thank you, Daskazine. Our last act is an act of pure magic. Our magician's aim is to create a trick so terrifying, so devilishly haunting, that their audience will not sleep for weeks, if ever. And Mr. Raven, I believe you, if you note, this is empty. Mr. Raven. Thank you very much, Mr. Raven. Now, our magicians jointly pore over treasured first editions of Gothic novels in search of inspiration. Indeed, it is so... Oh, hello, Leah. Thank you, Leah. And hello, Nora. The twins, ladies and gentlemen. They travel with the Bizzarium, taking to the stage nightly and doing their acts of of magic in order to collect first editions for their library. And it, again, is empty. And their favourite author, to which their dark heart is utterly devoted, is the macabre Mr. Edgar Allan Poe. And their fondest hope is to one day be able to visit his grave and lay a wreath of roses upon... Oh, Leonor. Fantastic. Thank you very much. The first trick, ladies and gentlemen. And meanwhile, they recite the entirety of his collection. The Raven, you saw earlier, their namesake, of course, Leonora, and their very favourite, the Tell-Tale Heart. Oh, Leonora. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, the Tell-Tale Heart. Now, the twins have not actually related whether there was a pivotal event in their young lives, thank you, very helpful, but I'll take those, in their young lives that set them upon such a darkly colourful life. And there has been more than one conjecture on the subject of whether if... Oh, sorry, Sarah, you wanted to get closer, did you? Come on up, Sarah. There you go, Sarah. As I was saying, we've often wondered whether anything actually set them on the path. One thing that we do undoubtedly think that they in themselves were the authors of the possible calamity. Indeed, around the campfire at night, the twins are full of admiration for and their wish to join the pantheon of urban legends alongside Bloody Mary and the Jersey Devil. However, Helga points out, their first editions were actually Beatrix Potter. So, I don't think they're quite as horrific as they said. Oh, Sarah, you're doing a trick. Go ahead. I haven't actually said... Wow! Ladies and gentlemen, the disappearing Sarah. Where is he, Leonora? There. Ah, and here he is. Sarah. Well done. That was actually fantastic, Sarah. What was it? You've got another trick to do. What, with Sarah? But I don't know anything about this. All right, okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to say apart from, apparently, there is another trick. And this, sorry, oh, it was inspired by the pit and the pendulum. Okay, hang on, Leo, no, that, yeah, that's actually really, really sharp. Are you sure you can do this trick? Leah? Nora? Is there any... I think this is actually quite dangerous and I'm not very keen on the fact that... is that what was meant to happen? No? Yes? Seren? Seren, are you okay, Seren? Oh. Oh, you're okay. Oh, all right. He's okay, ladies and gentlemen. He's fine. Take a bow, Leonora. And Sarah, take a... Oh, you can't really take a bow, can you? All right, well, we'll just sit you down there, Sarah. And Leonora, I was very impressed with that. You frightened me. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the stories from the Itinerant Bizzarium for this show. And now I'd like to introduce you to Miss Penelope O'Gara, the creator of the Itinerant Bizzarium.
Slightly warm back there. Thank you so much for coming.
Welcome to Captain Zachariah's Itinerant Bizzarium. And you will have heard some of this, but just to explain to the people that are new, what I'd like to take you through here is through a few of the stories of the members of the Bizzarium. And Captain Zach has handpicked every one of them. I met up with them a couple of weeks ago and we've been sitting around the campfire. They've been telling me their stories, which I've been written down, and that's what I'd like to take you through now, if that's okay. So allow me to fire your imaginations with tales of beauty and strength, danger, endurance, thrill, magic and mystery. And we're going to begin with the tale of Allegia. And enjoy this phrase because you won't hear it again. Once upon a time, Allegia was not the hirsute vision of loveliness you see before you now, but just another pretty little rich girl. And when not playing in the castle grounds, she was taught by a veritable battalion of tutors, schooled in the vital feminine arts of hairdressing and harpsichord, watercolour and waltz, floristry and fencing. In other words, young Allegia was moulded into perfect marriage material, and her father was intent upon flaunting her assets, whether she liked it or not. Now, it was the intention to have the cream of the aristocracy and the wealthiest of suitors to come and see Allegia, and so it was that after a long weekend of hunting and carousing with a host of minor princes and major landowners, he unveiled her portrait and boasted at length of her many virtues. Her wit and her beauty were, he announced, available to the highest bidder. Now, Allegia had overheard the maid's gossip of Gilles, his fabulous wealth, but also of his cruelty to man and beast alike, and of his insistence, and I do apologise, you youngsters, you might want to cover your eyes at this point, his insistence upon exercising his droit de seigneur, his prémonacte. But no amount of weeping, pleading or flattery could melt her father's venal heart. And one mockingly bright May morning, Allegia found herself flanked by the joyless ladies sent by Gilles' mother. They examined her every bit as fiercely as any witchfinder general. She was bathed and oiled, bedecked in fine lace and the family jewels. And then, as if in a dream, or rather a nightmare, Allegia walked up the aisle on her father's arm to be given in matrimony to the notorious Duke d'Oray. And walking back down in her husband's wake, she could not hold back the tears. And that night, locked behind sound-proofed doors, he indulged in every vice that earned his reputation. And there were many, subjecting his new bride to such indignities that even now, and I'm sorry about this, Madame Allegia, she blushes to recount them, until at last he fell into a sated sleep. The young Duchess, however, sobbed her way through what remained of her wedding night, praying fervently to her goddess for salvation, else she was determined to fling herself from the highest turret, rather meet her doom on the jagged rocks than endure a lifetime of such humiliation. So imagine, if you will, the newlyweds waking to find that Allegia had overnight grown this magnificent, rosy beard. Beautiful. And imagine too the effect that had upon the spoiled and superficial groom. The bishop was bribed to announce an immediate annulment. The rejected bride was banished at once, sent back to her furious father, who was angrily counting coins, forced to return the sizable sum that her hand had briefly brought him. Now, shunned by the men in her life, Allegia loaded what she could of her belongings into a small wagon and escaped. She set up camp by a town where the women accepted her, and they taught her such things that she would need to survive beyond the castle walls. She learned to bake and brew, to sow seed and stitch seams, all the while listening to the town and learning its secrets. And it was thus she heard of a widowed farmer who beat horses and children, alike. His wife, having died of unexplained injuries some years earlier, reminded her of her own lucky escape. Allegia watched and waited, flounced and flirted, until the farmer overlooked the beard and invited our heroine to meet in private. Oh, those fencing lessons came in handy after all. But apparently grief-stricken Allegia, our beardy beauty moved on and on and on, leaving many a village missing a sadistic character or two, until her path crossed with that of a certain circus. The good captain and his troop. That from that moment on, Allegia's cooking skills graced the campfire each evening, and her knowledge of herbs helped the ills of the performers. But once in a while, Allegia will still espy the telltale signs amongst the audience: concealed bruises, the distinctive gleam of cruelty in the eye, and then the Bizzarium will travel on without its beardy lady for a short while, until she reappears with one more notch upon her rolling pin. Thank you, Allegia. Thank you very much, Madam Allegia. And that all? Thank you. As ever, a pleasure, Madam Allegia. And I'll take you to sit down here if that's okay. Now, Zach, who do you think we should have next? I think, actually, I think we should move on to maybe, really? Now? Okay. Thank you, Bombadil. Yeah, oh, don't encourage him, he doesn't need it. Right, now. Yes, Bombadil. Okay, now while Bombadil flexes his mighty muscles, tenses those tendons and stiffens the sinews, I'll tell you a little of his, show off, a little of his story. His performing life began somewhat inauspiciously as a reluctant choir boy, when on his way home from church, yes, well done, Bombadil. And I know you might be thinking, a one-armed strong man, really? You won't actually hear the tale of how that happened tonight, but believe me, it doesn't hinder him. Now, on his way home from church one snowy Christmas Eve, oh, is it time for a trick, Bombadil? Ladies and gentlemen, solid steel. Okay, if you think you're ready, go on then. Go on. Go. We need to straighten your leg, that's it. I tell you what, shall I give you a hand, Bombadil? I'll keep, because with one arm it is difficult. Well, ladies and gentlemen, well done, Bombadil, very impressive. Now, he was actually press ganged, which means kidnapped by sailors, put on board ship, and then he was sailed away from England. Are you ready for your next trick? Yes? There you are then. Okay, go on. Go on, you can do it. Go on, Bombadil, go on, go on. Oh, no, you... There you go. And up, yes! Well done, Bombadil, very good. Yes, it's very impressive. Now, actually, let's see if you can now work this today. Have you got the strength? Now, when he was oh, yes, I know you have. Yes, yeah, no, don't start that. Not here. When he was eventually allowed up top on the ship, he swabbed the decks whilst watching the streets of... Yeah, well done, Bombadil, very good. Very good. So I'll put... What do you do? What? Oh, okay, yeah. Maybe like one of your French girls, Zach. Yes, all right, Zach. Yes, Bombadil. Thank you, Bombadil, yes. We'll take you down. Oh, good grief. Yeah. All right, thank you, Bombadil. Yes, that was very good. Well done. They love you. Now, now he actually helped their ship actually outsail the Flying Dutchman when they reached the Cape of Good Hope, actually. You're a hero as well. Yes, Bombadil. Now, I believe you've got another trick that you've been working with Seren. Is that right? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Seren. And... What? Really? Are you sure? All right, well, all right, I'm sorry, Seren. Apparently you're like this. Okay, all right. I haven't actually seen this, so carry on. Yeah, oh, wow. Well, maybe it needs a bit more work, Bombadil. So, yeah, maybe we could do a bit more. Bombadil, stop, You're just spanking Seren now, stop. I mean, joke's a joke, but that has gone somewhat beyond Bombadil, the realms of light entertainment. Bombadil, Seren back there. Thank you, Bombadil. Right, now, Bombadil had been travelling for several years and starved of entertainment when he came across in Japan a travelling circus. And sitting one night with the troupe's performers, he discussed for hour upon hour his stories and tales, even though he was a young lad, with the ringmaster, our very own Captain Zachariah. Yes. Now, Zachariah at that point asked Bombadil to join the Bizzarium. And I won't tell you everything that occurred that night. Copious amounts of alcohol may have been imbibed and some loud singing may have been involved. But it's enough to say the next morning was one of sore heads and quiet reflection as the Bizzarium moved on. Now, with the addition of Bombadil, the strong man. Ladies and gentlemen, Bombadil. Yes, well done. Thank you, Bombadil. Well done. Yes, yeah. Bombadil, come on. Bombadil. Yes, they love you. Thank you, Bombadil. Thank you. We are going to move on to possibly one of my favourite tales and one of my favourite characters. And it's the story of the enigmatic Madame Olathe. Now, Madame Olathe had known for some years that her future lay with the Itinerant Bizzarium, or gaze upon her. Madame Allegia, as ever, a pleasure. Thank you. And I crave your permission to tell the people gathered here, enrich their hearts and minds and spirits with the tale of Martha Rose. Thank you. And don't be confused. You see, the tale of Martha Rose is indeed the tale of Madame Allegia. Now, Martha Rose was but a young girl, her hair still in braids. Excuse me. When her two sisters, her 5 brothers, her mother, father, and all their possessions and chattels were put onto a wagon, and the wagon, in its turn, set within a convoy of travellers. And all of them, along with palpable sadness in their hearts, had a hope for a kind of future, far away from the hard living of New England. So they ventured towards the storied gold of the West. All was well. They began upon a gentle road. All was well, with grass and food aplenty. All was well. The road turned into steeper climbs, and all was well. Now scanter supplies, though, and all was well. Vast swathes of untracked grasslands, and all was well. Food not so plentiful now, but all was well. Martha Rose had never seen skies so large, or such a blazing sun, and rolling clouds with not a single tree to offer shelter from the elements, or from the band of marauding dog soldiers that descended upon them that horrific, fateful night. Martha Rose hid her eyes in horror as she was wrenched high and taken far, far to the south. Her bones healed. Her spirit, however, and that is until she was sold for 3 blankets and a string of carnelian beads, which may have appeared insulting until you remember that so little had brought her so much. A new life amongst the Mojave, and the beginning of her heart's restoration. I mean, these were a people of gentle farmers, artists, healers. Those of the tribe could choose their own path. All of the tribe, men and women. Martha Rose had never witnessed such a thing, and she found herself revelling in her liberty and drawn towards a shelter at the edge of the village, a space of smoke and shadow and story. Herein sat the soothsayers, women viewed with awe and the merest hint of dread. They wove stories of haints, shades, and lost spirits. They counted the curses of the skinwalkers. And for months, Martha Rose sat quietly, watching and learning their ways before being embraced into their circle. And the women never left her side, even as Martha Rose started her own vision quest, moving further and ever further from all she had known as reality. And in that place, in that time, she met her guardian spirit, who gifted her her true name. Martha Rose no more. She was become Allegia. Now, bearing the tribe's sacred mark, Allegia had found her destiny. Allegia moved beyond. Allegia became the teacher, the explorer of the shadowed lands. And whilst her visions brought her great joy, they also brought her tears. As it was revealed, Allegia's future lay elsewhere, and obeying the spirits, Allegia left the Mojave with a small group of entertainers. And whilst her time with them was pleasant enough, she began to fear that her vision had not been correct. For here there were no great moments of inspiration, no revelations, no sisters or brothers to replace those she had left behind. So how her heart leapt when she came across another circus, and the ringmaster entered her booth, and she knew him to be the true ringmaster, flesh of her flesh, blood of her blood. And here we are, so very many years later, and Madame Alafe is deciphering signs, reading omens, interpreting dreams, learning, yet questing, ever learning, ever developing, and ever journeying further into the mortal plane and beyond. Take that from me, Madame Alafe. For the desire to know the future gnaws always at our bones. Thank you, Madame Alafe. Thank you very much. I'll first take your text and then I'll bring you down. Thank you. Now, where was Madame Alafe? Because Madame Alafe actually had introduced quite a few members of the Bizzarium to Captain Zachariah, and she specifically wanted this beautiful woman. Madame Alafe found Selina Cosmia as a mere mite of a baby, abandoned at an unmarked crossroads, and her promise as a unique performer was initially put to excellent use upon the trapeze, the high wire, and all manner of astounding aerial acts. For who could resist the pint-sized spider girl swooping above their tiered seats, leaving myriad spangled webs in her wake as... Sorry? Oh, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we apparently need... Yes, I'm sorry, Sarah. Yes, I'm sorry to leave you there. I didn't know you were actually involved in this. So yes. Now, recent years have seen Selina preferring to get a little closer to her admirers. She likes to see the amazement on their face as she dangles from a single silken thread. And very occasionally, she will even invite one lucky ticket holder to her caravan for a hibiscus tea. However, worryingly, they are never actually seen to leave. But strangely, once the Bizzarium moves on... That's beautiful, Sarah. Well done. Beautiful. Once the Bizzarium, thank you. Once the Bizzarium moves on, strange things have been known to drop from the tops of the tallest trees. Really drop from the bottom of the tallest trees. Selina, are you coming back? Oh, and then have been known to be thrown from the marshlands below as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Selina Cosmia. And that actually concludes all the tales from the Bizzarium for today, so thank you for joining us. But I would like to introduce you to the creator of the Itinerant Bizzarium, Penelope O'Gara.
Yes, we are. Oh, thank you for coming, especially those who came back for more. And yeah, thanks to Andy and the rest of the folks at the gallery here for letting us come and play with dollies. Always much appreciated. appreciated, and thank you to my crew as well.
Can I ask a question? Have you got a favourite character out of all of the stars that you really love?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Mr. Bombadil.
Bombadil,
I won't
Orange
don't
Line.
we won't tell you too much because his story is in the next show.
one. But yeah.
And I
He's my
still
boy.
don't understand it.
It's my time to be Butch, everybody.
Yeah, really. This is supposed to be Butch.
Brilliant.
Yeah. It's big and buff.
Very good.
So yes. So he will be with us in the next show.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he's fabulous.
He is fabulous, but he's not Butch.
Well, I don't know. He's got good muscles.
Yeah, he has got good muscles. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you should see his abs.
Me. Yes.
Do you do these shows all over the country?
No, this is only the second time we've ever done it actually.
Oh my god!
To be honest.
Amazing.
So,
Wow.
but Andy's filming it, and I'm looking at maybe doing some sort of animation and stuff with it as well.
Oh,
So I can
brilliant.
put more online.
Yeah.
Because then it's easier for people, you know, like our friends to the other side of the pond, can actually see it. So,
They're amazing characters.
So,
you come up
so
with
yeah, so
stories.
planning on playing some animation and stuff. Andy here is an animator, so
Oh, great.
we're thinking maybe, you know, in the months to come we might have a play and see what we can do with them. Yeah, and then they'll be online. So if you know, follow the gallery or the Bizzarium online, we will be keeping people up to date with what we're doing. So
Fantastic.
that's the plan. The
Amazing.
more people I tell about it, the more I have to actually do
Absolutely.
it.
I think you're going to be a very busy lady.
Yes.
She already is, that's the problem.
Yeah, but theatre schmeatre, we'll just play with dolls. Sorry, no. We'll just play with dollies. So, yeah.
Can you tell me how you do their faces? How you
They-
make their
Oh.
eyes are so good.
Thank you.
Or just what you use?
So just obviously all drafted out in pencil. Then it's a thin layer of a very liquid acrylic,
Okay.
golden dew fluid acrylic. So it's just white of that, and then it's a mixture of watercolor pencils and
Okay.
all the smudgy stuff is pastels and on a brush.
Okay.
So the guy liner is so it's mixed with pastels and
Very
acrylics.
Yeah, the eyes are
They're so
incredible, aren't they?
realistic.
Yeah.
Really.
And then just a
Yeah.
little bit of stitching at the edge to give them a curve.
The shape.
Sorry,
Right.
So-
you were noticing. No. You were noticing. Look at his toed back as well. You were
Oh,
So yeah, lots of, and they're all hand stitched, so it means that I can do things like that to sort of give them definition.
Yeah, and all Daskazin's
Yeah,
tattoos will
Yeah.
stitch.
So and
Oh,
like
they're
this, so
stitched, the tattoos.
these are India
No.
ink on these. Some of Daskazin's are stitched,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's just
Wow.
it's an ink pen. Yeah, sure.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yep.
Look at his eyes. Amazing.
So he's a bit cute.
I'm not denying that at all.
Yeah.
It's so nice seeing them come to life. I mean, it's one thing having
Yeah.
them hanging in the
Yeah,
gallery.
but
Yeah.
seeing them
But-
come out to play.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you make copies of the individual ones of them, or is everything unique?
Because they're hand stitched. So even if I do, sometimes I've done the same character, but
Yeah.
they change massively. I mean, this version of Bombadil is an utter clown.
Yeah.
He's a total.
Yeah,
He's just. Previously, the strongman has been quite serious.
yeah.
But this guy just decided to be an
Yeah,
idiot,
we-
and it was nothing to do with
It
me.
was when we were doing his story and his act.
Yeah.
He turned into a clown. It
Yeah.
was just.
Stunning.
So yeah, it's really weird how that comes through. I mean, I've
Yeah.
read about writers doing that. They start writing a character and it decides where it's going. I've not had that happen before until here.
That's
Okay.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not funny, but he is.
He's lovely, isn't he?
Yeah, I think pretty
Yeah, take a photo. That's fine.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really beautiful.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
But and if
And I'll
you
take
speak to
Yeah,
Jessica,
it's all right.
definitely.
I'll send some photos.
Yeah, definitely up for working with her. So I need to reply to her. That would be really
But I
good.
like them, I probably don't.
Yeah, he's lovely, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, of course.
I'll be sorry you asked now. You've got to fondle Bombadil.
Yeah. Oh, he is very,
He's very cheeky looking as well.
Oh, it's also you working out on
Yeah.
how to use them, how
Yeah.
to move them, how to make them come to life with
Yeah,
the wires and where that
absolutely.
needs
Yeah,
to
Yeah,
It's like a cat.
possibly. But charming.
Fabulous.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for asking, because,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
go. Yes, you are.
And I must say, Mr. Storyteller, you've got a great voice.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Yeah.
Paul.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Great teamwork, it all just flowed.
Yeah, definitely.
Did it look like it was good teamwork? That's
Oh.
good.
Definitely.
Just one more question. What have you done with the sun?
Yeah, Marcus doesn't like.
Oh.